Welcome back, everybody, to another lesson of Ashes of Creation Academy. I am Wampus Among Us, your professor, your academic advisor, whatever you want to call me. Today's lesson is going to be a good one. We are going over commodity crates. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and click that like and subscribe button, the whole following on Twitch, and all those kind of stuff. And if you are need a guild, remember we are on the Resna server in Ashes of Creation, and that is our Discord, the Genesis Guild. All right, so before we get started, I want to go over a couple of things that some people have mentioned in the comments, and I don't really engage with people who are negative. When I do these lessons, this is not a wave top lesson, right? There are plenty of other people out there who do wave top content. I really do deep dives into it. And the reason why is because I really want you to understand the why. So if I put these materials into a crate, why do I get heroic? If I put these materials into a crate, why do I get epic? And why do I get rare? That's what I want everybody to understand when we're playing this game. If I craft this item and I mix these things together, why does it come out the way that it did? I want everybody to understand the mechanics of the game, because if you understand the mechanics of the game, then you can be a better crafter, be a better processor, etc. like that. Flinker did a recent video based on a guide that I did. Great video. Go see that one. It's probably going to be a lot shorter than this one's going to be. A lot of the same information, but he also goes over some things that I'm not going to go into. And Roar did one as well, a really good video on the commodity crate system. So I'll try to link to those videos. I'm going to mention Flinker's video a little bit later on when we go over rarity. But just know that these lessons are going to be long, and they're not meant for you to sit there for 5 minutes and learn everything. It's going to take some time to explain everything, because I really want you to understand what's going on and how to best min-max it in a sense. Also, these are not construction crates. I'm going to have an upcoming video on being a mayor and how to upgrade a settlement. I'm going to explain buy orders and why mayors choose the particular ones and the materials that needed for them. But for right now, we're just going to stick to commodity crates. We'll deal with construction crates later. All right, so commodity crates are a means of transforming raw resources into commodities, which can then be transported across Vera. Commodity crates are currently the quickest and easiest way to earn a large amount of gold and guild XP. Scrip can also be earned, and scrip is the settlement currency. And when you earn scrip, it's good at any settlement. So if you earn a whole bunch of scrip in one settlement, that's not just for that settlement. You can go to another settlement and spend that same scrip. So scrip is settlement currency, but it's also can be used at any settlement. And completing buy orders is a far quicker and efficient way of earning scrip. So buy orders are what a mayor uses in order to upgrade stations. I'll get into that in another lesson. I don't want to get into it right here, but just know that you can earn a whole lot of scrip, like thousands of scrip, by doing buy orders. You can also earn them by doing commodity crates, and there is a special situation where you would want to do that. But for right now, just know that you're better off. If you just want to earn scrip, you're better off doing buy orders, if there are buy orders. And buy orders are only going to happen if there's a T3 settlement or higher, and a mayor's been elected. So once a mayor's elected and he or she puts up the buy orders, then do a bunch of buy orders and you will get scrip. And you don't have to be a citizen of that settlement in order to earn scrip. You do need to be a citizen in that settlement to earn citizen reputation in that settlement, but you don't have to be a citizen to earn scrip. All right, so we'll go over the different types of commodity crates. The type of crate one should choose is based on two factors. The type of currency used to pack the crate. So basically, what does it cost? What's the input, right, into the crate, besides the resources that we're going to go over? But this is how you're going to pay for the crate. And then the type of reward earned for delivering the crate. Here is the chart. I would pause the video and take a screenshot of this or a snapshot of it just so you'll have it. But this is pretty much all the crates that we're going to be dealing with. There's another one that we're going to mention that's not really relevant to what we're talking about here, but I'll talk about it later. But just know that these are the 6 crates that we have in the game that we're going to discuss in this lesson. You have the artisan. The currency type is gold. The reward type is gold. It's actually silver because it doesn't cost a lot and you don't get a lot, but it's just easier just to say gold. That's at the artisan commodity vendor. Then you have the market, which the currency type is glint, but you get gold. Then you have the citizen, which is script, and you get gold. And then you have the guild that you use gold to pack the crate, but you get guild XP as a reward. Settlement is you pay for it with glint, and then you get script back. And then harbor, you pay for it with Glint, and then you get materials back. And we'll go over what those materials are. I'll try to remember to link a picture of this in the description of the video so that you'll have a good snapshot of it. All right, so we'll go over each one of the crates. So this is the Artisan Commodity Crate. It's only available in the 4 starting areas. You have the 2 starting areas in the Riverlands, and then you have the 2 starting areas in the Anvils. And as I mentioned, it's not actually gold that you get, but silver, since it costs 1 silver, 50 copper to craft it. And the reward for a common one is 24 silver, 44 copper. So almost 25 silver for that. When you interact with the station, it's going to say that it's a settlement commodity station. That's a bug, or it's just an error. It's not a settlement commodity station. It actually is more like a market commodity station, because you can deliver these to a market commodity vendor. So crates from here again can be delivered to any of the starting areas. I would not obviously go up to the Anvils or come down to the Riverlands with one of these, because the payout is going to be the same wherever you go, and we'll go over that here in a second. So really, it's going from Avon's Inn over to Briarmore Farm, or Briarmore Farm over to Avon's Inn, and that's pretty much it. That's going to be the easiest and safest route that you're going to go, because again, it's a fixed amount, so there's no reason to go any further. Now, you can do additional rarities for it. Like I did a rarity from Avon's Inn all the way up to House Inn, and it was a rare crate, a blue crate. And so instead of getting 24 silver, 44 copper, like you would normally get for a common crate, going between the two, I got 60 silver, I think 60.5 silver or something like that. Now, for that crate, I also had to pay 17.5 silver for a legendary commodity certificate. So you have to factor that into the cost of it. We're going to go over commodity certificates and the different rarities and how you can get the higher rarity ones. But just know that these crates are really not meant to be high rarity and are meant to be carried over a long distance. All right, so this is where it's at in the Avon's Inn. It's across the river by the agricultural supply and the laboratory. The commodity crate station is there. Right next to it is also a construction crate station. The one on the left is the construction crate, and the one on the right is the commodity crate station, the artisan commodity crate station. And then over in the Briarmore Farm, north of Samaya's Hope, it's located at the wood shop. Again, that's also where the construction crate station is, but they're not co-located. The one in Avon's Inn, they're like right next to each other. The ones over in Briarmore Farm, they're a little separated. All right, so the market commodity crate, again, your input is glint and your output is gold. It has like a little symbol of a kettle floating over it. When you interact with the market vendor, there's going to be 3 icons on him. These are the default keys, F, V, and G. If you roll your mouse over the F, it's going to say sell crate. Obviously, if you don't have the crate to sell, it's not going to do anything. If you click on V or hit V on the keyboard, that's where you're going to go in to the vendor screen, and that's where you're going to buy your certificates. If you hit G, he's going to pull up a window, and you can ask him 3 things. What is it that you do? Take me to your wares, or good day. So if you say, what is it you do? He'll give a brief explanation of commodity crates. If you say, take me to your wares, he's basically just going to take you to the V one, which is the vendor screen. FYI, there is a bug I noticed on the artisan stations. If you go into G and then you say, take me to your wares, it pulls up a blank vendor screen. So you can't buy their certificates from him. But if you do go into V and pull up the vendor screen, that's where the certificates are. So if you don't see the certificates when you're going through the G option to say, take me to your wares, exit back out of it and go into the V option, and then that'll take you directly to the vendor screen that has the commodity certificates. All right. Market commodities are located near the market. And actually, these are the only commodity crate stations that are not located at the town hall. If you're looking at the marketplace manager, and that's the player vendor where you sell stuff on it, to your 1 o'clock is a building. This is a T4 settlement, but a T3 settlement is going to be in the upstairs of that building that I have circled. On a T4 settlement, it's going to be outside over on the right side. All right. For the citizen commodity crate, he's inside the town hall. That's why he's inside of a building there. You input script and you output gold. So really, your citizen commodity crate and your market commodity crate are going to be the main ones that you're going to be doing, because most people just want gold. They don't care about anything else. Yeah, guild XP is good, and there are situations where guild will be doing those to level up guilds. So I guess that's probably the third most important one, would be the guild XP. But really, everybody is just in it for themselves. They just need gold in order to do just about anything in the game. Processing, crafting, buying stuff off the market that other people have looted or crafted or something like that. And like I said, it's at the town hall. This is Sunhaven. If you go all the way to the back right corner, that's where the station is. Then you have the guild commodity crate that I just mentioned. Again, you input gold, but the output is guild XP. You get Seals of Valor. You don't actually get the XP, you get Seals of Valor. And these are the different rarities. You got 6 different rarities, just like all the other rarities. And these are the quantities, or the amounts that you get for each one. So common one is worth 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 for legendary. So when you turn in a guild commodity crate, you're just going to get a bunch of these. If you get 2 legendaries, now you got 200,000. If you get 5 epic, now you get 250,000, because you had 2 legendaries and 5 epics, et cetera, et cetera. So generally you'll just get a whole list of them, and they'll have a quantity right next to it. You don't have to be in a guild to do a guild commodity crate. You can just be a freelancer, and then you can sell these on the market, or you can gift them to somebody. They can be traded or sold. So this is another way to make money if you are into making money. Guilds really need these to level up their guild, because as the guild levels up, they get a lot of benefits that really help them. Also in the town hall as well. All right, then you have the settlement commodity crate. So your input is glint and your output is scrip. Generally, buy orders are going to be the best way that you're going to get scrip. But in the very beginning, when a settlement levels up to tier 3, there are no mayors. It takes 48 hours for a mayor to be elected. You got to have a 24-hour period where they register as a candidate, and then you have 24 hours to vote. So once that mayor is elected, he or she could then go and put buy orders in, but you have that time frame where you can run crates, but you don't have any scrip. So this is going to be the best way that you're going to be able to get scrip, is to input glint and then output scrip. But later on, this is not the way. This is not a good way to earn scrip once you start doing buy orders, and you'll realize that as you play the game more. Generally, it's not inside the town hall, it's across the street. So this is Sunhaven. There's the town hall there on the left, and it's hard to see, but it's in that little circle around the corner. That's also how it is on a tier 4. He's tucked back behind a corner someplace. I don't know why they put him. They used to be around on the front where those flowers are, over in the corner. I don't know why they put him around in the back. So he's just hard to find. All right. And then harbor commodity crates. Again, you input glint and you output material. The material that you get is called verdant flux. And as you can see, it says it's used as a reagent for a high-end crafting. It's not really used for high-end crafting, because we're not at the high-end crafting point. So there's really no way to use this. If you try to sell it to a vendor, you're going to get 1 copper, which is nothing. So there, at this point, there's really no point in doing these, because it's not used for anything. And you're going to be, generally, you're going to take these on a ship. You can take these across land, but if you take them across land, there's a 90% movement speed. However, that 90% movement speed debuff is only while walking. I jumped on a mule and carried one, and the mule didn't seem to be affected by it. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's how it's supposed to be, but I don't know why you would make it 90% walking, but then the mount would be just as fast as any other mount. So I don't know if it's a bug or not, but anyways, if you're going to do these, just do it with a mule. And we're going to go over the mounts here a little bit later. This is the Breezewater Bay Harbor. This is what it looks like. The crate station is in between those two little wings of the building. This is what it looks like actually at nighttime, but that's what it looks like there. That's the station. And then this is the harbor commodity vendor. That's who you would talk to buy their certificates. And also, that's where you would turn it into to sell the crate from another place. So all players should be able to buy a legendary certificate from this vendor, since you cannot be a citizen of a harbor like you can be of a settlement. I'm not sure if buying the legendary item is tied to being aristocrat in a settlement, but maybe it should be. The one that I mentioned earlier, that's like number 7, that's not really a commodity crate, is the Lawless commodity crate. There's only one Lawless outpost, and it's called the Turquoise Sea Trading Post. It's out in the very western part of the Turquoise Sea. If you interact with the station, this is the only station that has 2 options. So it has the smuggled murmuring husk, and then it has the crate of lawless contrabands. Instead of a certificate, it takes a lawless package, which you can buy from the vendor there. So it's like a special commodity crate because you still got to pack it with all the other kind of stuff, but it's not really a commodity crate in a sense because you don't use a certificate for it. So if you look over in the side, it says this item can be delivered to the harbor commodity vendor in a harbor to gain materials. So this one, the smuggled murmuring husk, sounds like it is just like a regular commodity crate, right? Because you interact with the harbor commodity vendor for the regular commodity crate, and you'll do the same thing for this one. And again, you pay this one with a glint. But the other one, it says this item can be delivered to the caravansary in a lawless outpost to gain materials. The only problem is that there's no other lawless outpost that I'm aware of. I think this is the only lawless outpost. So there's no point in running this one because you have really nowhere to deliver it to. I was told a while back that the whole lawless thing is still a work in progress. So maybe they'll flesh it out more and we can deliver these. But it says gain materials. So I'm pretty sure you're just going to get that verdant flux again. If you go talk to the vendor in the hunting lodge at the Turquoise Sea Trading Outpost, he will basically tell you, I pay more verdant flux than anybody else or something like that. So it's used as a currency in a sense, but right now there's no other place that I'm aware of that you can take a lawless crate to or from, or the lawless contraband crate. So again, avoid doing these crates. I would, and then avoid doing the harbor ones until that system gets fully fleshed out and that verdant flux has a use in crafting. All right, so this is what a regular commodity crate station looks like. And like I usually do, I'll go over each part of the windows to point out some things. So up the top is the type of crate that it is or the name of the crate. There are 26 settlements possibly in Vera or in the world spread across the 5 biomes. Each settlement has 4 stations, right? You got the market, you got the commodity, you got the citizen, and then you got the guild. So 26 times 4 is 104. So basically there's 104 possible commodities that can be delivered. Now, obviously that's not going to be all at the same time because not everything can be a level 3 or level 4. You're going to have some level 2s out there as well. And level 2s do not have the commodity stations that the levels 3 and level 4 do. But also, in addition to the 104, you also have the 10 harbors, and then you also have the 4 starting areas, and then you have the lawless outposts. So what is that, roughly maybe 115, 120 different types of commodities that can be delivered, depending on which one's leveled up at the tier 3, tier 4 settlements. So these are the quality ingredients. I may have mentioned this before. Anytime you see quality ingredient means it's going to affect the rarity. If it's a basic ingredient, it's not going to affect the rarity. But because of these are all quality ingredients, they will affect the rarity. And we're going to go over that a little more detail on how the rarity is calculated. I do have a totally separate video on rarity, and that's a great video because I really go into detail on that. This system that it uses here is different than that system, but the concept is still the same, and I'll explain the difference. All right, if you mouse over each one of these, so the first one is stones, metals, or gems from the Sand Squall Desert. This is pretty much going to be the thing with all the crates, is that it's going to be specific to that biome. So because this one is in the Sand Squall Desert, it's going to be only items from the desert, generally speaking. That's not always the case. If you look at this one, it's stones, metals, or gems from the Sand Squall Desert, but then it has cove glass. Cove glass is actually found in the Turquoise Sea. June Scotch, I don't know what June Scotch is, maybe from the June Dark. So some of these things, I don't know where they're from, but it'll still take it for this. Next one is going to be the wood or plants from the Sand Squall Desert. You need 12 of those, wood or plants, in this one. And then you need fish or carcasses from the Sand Squall Desert. Fish is obviously the easiest thing to do. Just fish out there for maybe 5 minutes, 6-7 minutes, and you'll get 5 fish. Hopefully you'll get 5 fish. And then the last one is the Sunhaven Commodity Certificate. It says unsellable, but honestly, that's probably the best thing that you can do is earn a bunch of scrip, become an aristocrat, which is the highest level, and then start selling certificates. I've sold so many legendary certificates in Sunhaven because I've done so many buy orders. I'm the mayor in Sunhaven, so I've done a whole bunch of buy orders there to help my own settlement get leveled up. And I have, I don't know, 3,000-4,000 scrip that I don't really have any use for. So I just buy certificates and put them out there. I think they're about 1 gold each. But when I sell them, I sell it at 90 silver so that the person buying it sees 1 gold as price. So if I listed at 1 gold, it would be like 110 or whatever the price would be with tax or listing fee. So I do the calculation that way it shows up as only 1 gold on there. So basically it's like tax free when I do that. So when I get my reward for it or the pay for it, I only get 90 silver, 91 copper. So almost 91 silver. But that's generally the going rate for them is anywhere between 80 silver and 1 gold for them. And also the certificates are specific to that settlement. So you can't buy a Sunhaven commodity certificate and go over to Athanar and use it over there. I know because I made sure that today. I rode over to Athanar and tried to use a commodity certificate over there just to make sure that wasn't a bug and it would not accept it. So that's good. But the script that I mentioned this earlier, the script that I earned over in Sunhaven, I can use to buy a certificate over in Athanar. All right. So speaking of the certificates, this is the vendor window for buying the certificates. As you can see, all of them are there and all of them are in white because I'm an aristocrat, so I can buy all of them. If you are not an aristocrat, then it'll be like grayed out a little bit, so you can't purchase it. And each one of these, except for the first two, is based on your level. The first two are based on your level because you're a peasant. So anybody go into any settlement can buy a common or an uncommon. But to buy a rare one, you have to be a commoner. Once you're a liege, you can buy the heroic. Once you're a noble, you can buy the epic. And then once you're an aristocrat, you can buy the legendary. As you can see, it cost me 28 scrip for this one. But there's also tax that I have to pay. Yeah, I'm the mayor and I have to pay tax just like everybody else. So really, this cost me 31. So for every one that I buy, I have to pay 31 scrip. So this is an excellent way for anybody to turn your scrip, the 31 scrip, into gold. Because basically I'm taking 31 scrip, buying it, and then turning around and selling it, or almost a gold, right? Depending on what you charge people for. All right, so back to the commodity crate station. Over on that side is some more information. Really, the only important information that you need over here is this little part right here. This item can be delivered to the market commodity vendor in a settlement to earn gold. So basically, who do I take it to and what am I getting? That's the most important thing in that little box there. And then down the bottom is how much it's going to cost me. So again, like I mentioned before, commodity crate station takes glint, and this is the cost it takes. 8 dim glint and 8 dull glint. Also, if you hit shift left mouse button to view all prices, if you roll your mouse over right above that where it says case of sun crystal sand, this little window is going to pop up here. And basically this is just a way to see what the prices are generally. Do not accept as the de facto price. These are basically like a ballpark of what you might get for it. This is based on a common one, so obviously the higher rarity ones are going to be more, and we're going to go over that, all the factors that goes into that. But this is basically just a way for you to see if I deliver this crate to Athanar, I would get 44.97. If I went to Tangled Outpost, I would get 73, et cetera, et cetera. Exactly. And Intrepid knows that this system is not working right. I've talked to them about it, and they say, yeah, we're tracking that it's not fully fleshed out, but it's just something that shows where they're going with this system. Also, notice that you can sort the columns. So if you can sort by alphabetical over on the left column, the middle column is the sell price. That's how I have this sorted. From Sunhaven to Mythbreak, which is right across the Breezewater Bay, or that area of water, whatever you want to call it, is the lowest rate, 38.62. And that's bad, right? Because if I go off in that area, I'm flagged for PvP. Whereas if I go to Azmoran, yeah, there's a bunch of scorpions and broodlings and things like that that might kill me out there, but at least I won't be flagged for PvP that way. But notice going to Azmoran, it's 40 silver, right? And it's 36 kilometers away. Right below that is Miralith, and it's 32 kilometers away, but I get paid more. So why would I get paid more for going someplace that's closer? And I'll go over that a little bit later why. All right. So this is the artisan commodity one that I was talking about earlier. And I put this on here so you can see that it's all 24.44, right? So regardless if you go 18 kilometers or go 82 kilometers, you're only going to get paid the same amount. So there's really no reason when you're doing those artisan crates to go anywhere except from starting area to starting area. Maybe starting area to Jova for the Avon's Inn, or maybe the one over in Bramwell Farm, maybe go to Miralith, or maybe go to Winstead, but those are more dangerous than just going back and forth. Maybe that one bridge with the highwaymen on it is a little dangerous, especially if you're like level 3 or 4. But really, with as much traffic that goes through there, generally you're pretty safe from the mobs, not from other players. But I don't think anybody's going to kill you. So if you're walking with the crate, you do not lose your PvP protection when you're, what is it, level 5 and below, whatever. But if you are on a mule, then you do lose that protection. And we'll go over that a little bit later. All right, commodity crate reward calculations. So the price a settlement is willing to pay for a commodity is based on 4 factors, and this is in no particular order. The first one is crate rarity, and we're going to go over that, how it's calculated. Again, if you saw the rarity video, which was number 4, I think it was, you'll understand this system a lot better, but I'll still explain it anyways. The distance from originate and settlement, right? So how far are you taking it? That's another factor. How many biome borders have you crossed to get to that one? And that's not the actual biome borders that you cross, right? So if you go up and around and around and around, they're not going to pay you more for that. It's basically based on a calculation, and then we'll go over that. And then commodity oversaturation, also called diminishing returns. Basically, the more that gets delivered in one place, the less it's going to pay. And I'll have a chart that shows you the number of crates that you're not going to know how many delivered for you, but at least you'll get an idea of how that's calculated. All right, so we'll go over crate rarity. Here's the payout for crate rarity. Common, no multiplier, basically 1, uncommon 1.5, rare 2, heroic 2.5, epic 3, and legendary 3.5. So as you go up, you get like a 50% bump in the payout of the crate. If you go from common to rare, now you're doubling your money. If you're going from common to epic, now you're getting 3 times, and legendary is 3.5 times the amount that you would normally get if you were doing a common crate. All right, so again, on the rarity video, if you saw that, this looks familiar, right? Common, uncommon, rare, heroic, epic, legendary. Those are the normal values that you would use when you're doing any kind of processing or crafting, right? Pretty straightforward if you watch the video, but for some reason, and I'm not sure if it's a bug or feature with Intrepid, you can never tell, but this is how it's calculated. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically common is 1, uncommon is 2, rare is 3, heroic is 4, epic is 5, and legendary is 6. And we'll have some examples of this. I've done lots of tests. I've had people do tests, and this seems to be it. I haven't seen anything using this system where it didn't work out the way it should. With the other system, the one above that, there were times when it should be heroic, but it was rare, right? And I said, well, why is it not calculating right? But using the one on the bottom, it is calculating correctly. Also, we're going to talk about making higher rarity crates on here. But when you're making the higher rarity crates, you need to weigh the potential payout with the potential risk of losing your crate due to PvP or disconnecting from the game. There have been people who have lost their crates crossing over a server worker, right? And then when they log back in, their crates are gone. If it was legendary, epic, heroic, whatever, all those materials are just gone. So you might be better off just selling those materials than you are running a crate. For one, there's no threat of PvP. There's no threat of disconnecting and losing your stuff. In this phase, legendary and epic are very hard to come by, like very hard to come by. So if you're using those for crates, you're putting yourself at risk. So sometimes it might be better just to sell the materials. You'll probably get more gold and with 0 risk on it than you would if you were running the crates for those materials. All right. So again, I'm going to put the chart up at the top so we can do this. I mentioned Flanker earlier. This is the chart that Flanker had in his video, and all of these are heroic crates. And he mentioned in his video, he says, okay, these are the combinations that I did that were all heroic, but I'm going to explain to you why they are all heroic, right? Again, we got to get to the why are things in the game the way they are. So we're going to use the chart up the top. So if I take the heroic stones, which is 4, the heroic herbs, which is 4, the green fish, which is 2, and the legendary cert, which is 6. So again, 4, 4, 2, and 6. Add those up, that's 16 divided by 4. That's our average. Our average is 4. This is a heroic crate because of the way the numbers add up. Let's do the one below that one. 4, 3, 3, 6, right? Heroic is 4, rare is 3, rare is 3, legendary is 6. Those add up to be 16 again. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And all these are going to be 16, right? Because 16 divided by 4 is 4, and they're all heroic. So how did we get to 16 on each one of these? For this one, we went 3, 3, 4, and 6. And on this one, we went 3, 2, 5, and 6. So pretty much that's it. So if you want to craft a heroic crate, get to 16. If you want to do a rare crate, get to 12. If you want to do an epic crate, get to 20. If you want to do a legendary crate, the only way to do a legendary crate is to have all legendary, right? So you're going to need 24 on that. But generally, this is how you're going to end up calculating the rarity on each one of the crates, is by figuring out what the overall rarity you want to get to, and then just add it up to that number. So if you want a heroic crate and 4 times 4 is 16, you got to get to 16. If you want to do an epic crate, 5 times 4 is 20. You got to get to 20 based on all the different numbers. If you go in between a number, if you go between 3 and 4, it's going to be 3. You can be 3.9999, doesn't matter. It's going to be a 3. So it's always going to go back down to that whole number, right? It's never going to go up to the next whole number. It's always going to go back down to that whole number. So again, if you're adding things into a crate, like 12 heroic stones, right? So instead of 12 heroic stones, you had a mixture of uncommon, common, maybe some legendaries. I don't know why you would, but anyways, if you had a bunch of different rarities and it was 3.4, 3.6, whatever, take out the 4 and the 6, right? Replace those with something that's going to bring it back down to 3, because again, like I mentioned in the rare video, you're just wasting those resources because you're not getting any advantage of those. All right. So I mentioned in the rarity video about zero sum, and it's at play here as well. We're going to go over some zero sum. So again, we want to make a heroic crate. How can we make a heroic crate? So if we go rare and epic being our -1 and +1, and our uncommon and legendary are -2 and +2, this is our zero sum scale. Say we have 2 rare items, right? So 2 times -1 is -2. And say we have 2 epic items, which is +2, right? So if I do the math, I have 2 rare items. 2 rare items is 3 plus 3. That's going to be 6. 2 epic items is going to be 5 plus 5. That's 10. And there's my 16. 16 divided by 4 is 4. I have a heroic crate. Another example. Say I still had 2 rare, but now I have 1 heroic. So what is something I got to do to get to heroic? I can't do epic, right? Because then it'd be a -1. It'd be -2 plus 0 plus +1. It would be a -1. I'm going to be at a rare crate. So the only way that I'm going to be able to get to a heroic crate from this point is by doing a legendary +2. Again, doing the same math. 6, 3 plus 3 for the 2 rare ones. Heroic is a 4 and legendary is a 6, and that's 16 divided by 4 equals 4. And then finally, last one. What if I had a whole bunch of different ones and I wanted to see what I'd get? If I had a uncommon, I had a rare, I had an epic, and I had a legendary. The common is worth 2, the rare is worth 3, the epic is worth 5, and the legendary is worth 6. That's 16. And then again, that's going to be 16 divided by 4 equals 4. So in all these examples, notice that the information on both sides cancel each other out. So if it was -2, I needed a +2. If it was a -2 and a -1, which is -3, I had to have a +3. So if you're doing the zero sum system, you basically just have to have the same on either side. You could do these with a rare crate, right? If you brought it down to common, uncommon, and then put rare in the middle, and then use heroic and epic to go up, you could do that as well. So either way, it really depends on what you're trying to get to, is how you would use this system. All right. So the second thing, that was rarity. That's the first thing that determines the price that you're going to pay. The second one is distance from originating settlement. This is a no-brainer. The further the distance between the originating settlement and the receiving settlement, the more the latter will pay for a commodity. This is calculated as a straight line distance, and the commodity price window will give a good indication of how much a settlement will pay for that particular commodity crate. But again, do not rely on that as the de facto price. So it has the distance in there and it tells you what the price is, just to use that as an approximation. All right, the third one is biome borders cross. So each time a biome border is crossed, a 20% premium is added to the selling price of the commodity crate. If 2 borders are crossed, for example, the Riverlands into the Turquoise Sea into the Anvils, that's a 40% premium, which is 20% plus 20% is added to the selling price. And then if 3 borders are crossed, so you're going from the Sandsquall Desert into the Riverlands, into the Turquoise Sea, into the Anvils, that's 3 borders that you cross, that's a 60% premium. So just know that crossing a border does not trigger this. And I mentioned this earlier. It's based on a calculation that each station has. So if you are in a Riverlands station, it knows that if you go to the June Dark, that's going to be one border that you're going to cross. So everything to the June dark is 1.2. It knows going to the desert is going to be 1.2. It knows going to the turquoise sea is going to be 1.2. So from the Riverlands, the only one that's not 1.2 is going to be the Anvils. That's going to be 1.4, and that's your 40% that it's going to pay there. And then again, if yours at Squall's Inn and you went to the very top corner, I forget the name of it, all the way up there, that's going to be the greatest distance. That's going to be your biggest payout because you're passing 3 borders, which is going to be your 6%. All right. So here's a visualization of it, right? Say you're coming down from the Anvils and you cross the border into the turquoise sea. There's a 20% bonus right there, that little pass that goes right there under that big stone arch. And then there's the choke point there that people will to attack you and steal your crates just west of Halcyon. There's another 20%. So if you're going from the Anvils through the turquoise sea into the Riverlands, you've just gained 40% bonus. And then here's another example. So say you're in Halcyon and you deliver a crate over to Winstead. Because you're in the same biome, you're not getting a bonus. But if you look, if you go over to the Windansea, it's actually a little bit closer to the Windansea, but you're getting that 20% bonus. So you're better off going from Halcyon over to Windansea if Windansea is a tier 3 settlement, right? If it's a tier 2 or Halcyon's a tier 2, this won't work. Both of them have to be a tier 3 or tier 4. So you're better off going over that little pass and around down in there. Now, obviously that's dangerous for the choke point there, and it's also dangerous because of the mobs that are in the Windansea, the lizards and some other things down there, those assassin things that run around. But yeah, if you can fend them off and deliver your crate, you'll get a better payout if you go over to Windansea from Halcyon than you would if you went over to Winstead. All right, and then the last one is commodity oversaturation, or what we call diminishing returns. So settlements use supply and demand to determine the price they are willing to pay for a specific commodity crate. As more of a specific commodity is delivered to a specific settlement, that settlement will start pay less. It's just supply and demand that we have dealt with our whole lives when it comes to the pricing of things. And then as the supply of that crate decreases, the price the settlement will pay will increase. So the fewer they get, they're like, oh, we're not getting as many, now we need to up the price, right? And this is the chart for that. If you're one of the first 25 people to deliver a crate to a settlement, you're going to get a 1.2 multiplier for that crate. If you're number 26 through 100, and you're not going to know which one you are, right? Now, if you see a tier 3 pop, right, and you are, say, Aethanar pops, right, and you have some crates stored in Miralith, and you're one of the first people there, generally you're going to be in that 1 to 25. But say if there's a group ahead of you, you're hoping maybe I'm one of the 125 because I'll get a 20% bump in this, or if I'm not, then at least I'm getting the full price, which is the 26 to 100. And then it just starts dropping after that. 101 to 250 crates delivered is a 0.8 multiplier. A 251 to 500 is a 0.5. 501 to 1000 is 0.3. And anything over 1000 is a 0.1. So that's why you'll see the prices just drop like that, right? And there's no way for you to know what that multiplier is or how many crates been delivered before you. And we don't know when that resets, like I say right here. So this is based on the number of crates delivered over X number of days. How many days? No idea. I asked, they wouldn't tell me. I don't know why they wouldn't tell me, but that's pretty much how it goes. The actual number of days is currently unknown, like I just mentioned. If a settlement will go from level 2 to level 3, stage commodity crates in a nearby settlement and complete the delivery once the settlement levels up, like I just mentioned. And then saturation does not reset when a settlement goes from level 3 to level 4. So if you see that level 3 cranking and then it's about to hit level 4, it's not going to change anything. The oversaturation is still there. I know, super sad. All right. So I talked about storing crates. I'm going to explain how to store crates. So open up your storage window. This is the one in Halcyon. I'm there. Once you open up your storage, I'm on the crate tab on this one, but you don't have to be on the crate tab. You could be on the items tab or material tabs. It doesn't matter. I just did this so you could see it show up over there. But really, if you just open storage, it defaults to the items. That's good enough. You can just open your character screen with C, and then I cut off the rest of it because that really wasn't important. But this one, I'm wearing the crate, right? And then you also see the crate over here. This is where you're going to go to it. If you forget where I deliver it to, is it market, is it settlement, whatever, citizen, you can mouse over this and it'll tell you that information. So again, that information is this item can be delivered to the citizen commodity vendor in a settlement to earn gold. And then also, where did it come from? Say you see somebody out and they disconnected and they dropped their crate, or you killed them because that's the way it goes. And now you're like, okay, where did this come from? Oh, it came from Halcyon, and he's near Halcyon. So that means you got to make the trip. But say he dropped it near Halcyon and it says it came from Kaltorum. Great. That person's probably going to be respawning there and probably running back and wants to get their crate. So be prepared for that. But at least this will tell you where it came from. That way you know what your profit's going to be. And you can go back to Halcyon and store it there and maybe wait for later to send it. If you crack into it on the ground, you can get flagged for PvP. You have to use the crowbar, but most people will just pick it up, hop on a mule, and then take off. And generally the other person will have to catch up to you if they know which direction you went, and if they're able to get back in the game after that. If you shift and left click on it, it's going to pull up the commodity prices like we went over before. This is how you can see the window as you're going around. The way I showed you before is actually at the crate, but you can actually pull up the commodity prices. And this only seems to change when you cross a border between settlements. So if you're on this side of Halcyon and you cross over into Winstead, the price is going to change. But while you're inside Halcyon, the price doesn't seem to change. That's the way it was. I didn't really test it this time to see if that was still the case, but generally prices don't fluctuate until you cross over a border between two settlements. All right. And then if you shift right click on it, it's going to pull up this menu, and that's where the move to storage is. You can also link it if you want to link it into the chat, and then you can also drop it, but there's a drop icon that shows up on your hotbar as soon as you pick up a crate. Once you drop the crate, that item is still there. That button, you can drag it off at that point, but it's just going to pop back up when you or come back onto it when you put a crate back on. But if you're not going to do a crate for a while, you can feel free to drag that off because it'll just pop up automatically when you do it. So yeah, just click on the move to storage, and then it just shows up in your storage, and obviously it's not on your body anymore. So pretty simple process. You can also click on it and drag it over and drop it in there, but you maybe have a risk of accidentally clicking wrong, and then it pulls up that window. It says, do you want to delete it or what? Are you sure? Just avoid that. Just shift right click and then choose move to storage, and it instantly shows up there and you're done. It's a lot faster and a lot quicker and a lot safer. All right, transporting crates. So crates can be transported in multiple ways at varying speeds and in different quantities. Now I'm gonna go over each one of these. So walking, obviously you can only carry one crate while you're walking. You can be on a mount. Again, you can only do one crate while you're doing that. A mule can carry one or two crates, and that's just the mule itself. I'm not talking about you on the mule, which also has a crate, since that's also a mount. So really you can do 2 or 3 crates if you're on the mule with it, but the mule itself has slots for 1 or 2 crates. For caravans, you can do 1 to 8 crates. I know in the early phases, phase 1 and 2, maybe 2.5, the higher rarities gave more slots. I wasn't able to find that out. I know they changed it. So I'm just assuming that a caravan, I say 1, actually I think it's 2 is the smallest that will be, 1 by 2. But I think 8 is the most that you can do in a caravan. But nobody do caravans anymore because of the mules and walking. And now we got the ships, right? The Corsair, which is a very fast ship. I was out there actually today with a guildmate, and I was right next to it on my flying mount because I'm the mayor of Sunhaven, and he was on the Corsair, and I was just a little bit faster than him flying. And that mount is 215% speed, and that Corsair is booking it. Now, once I hit the burst, because you still have that dash command that you can do while you're flying, and it will speed it up. Now I was able to speed up, but if there's a caravan and see a mount flying behind you, it's going to take him a bit of time to catch up to you. Now, obviously, if the distance is great, then he'll eventually catch up to you, but just know that ship is really fast. The other ship, I forget what they call it, the big one, the cargo ship, that thing's pretty slow, and of course the rowboats are terribly slow. All right, and then the last one is the ships I was talking about. I put infinity crates here because you can just stack people and stack the mules on top of the ship and carry a bunch of them. I don't know what the limit is on this. That would be something to test out, but you can carry a whole bunch of mules and a whole bunch of people carrying crates. And the previous phase, it was 12. This is before we had the mules. You could put 12 people on there, and then you could put 4 in the hole, the cargo hole, so that was to be 16. The pilot or the captain of the ship could also carry a crate, but if he's carrying a crate in the past, it would slow the ship down, just like it would slow the mount down if you're carrying a crate on the mount. But if he wasn't carrying a crate, but other people were, then you could carry a total of 16. But now that we have the mules and they can carry 2 crates plus 1 with you on it, I don't know how many, maybe as many as you can cram in there. I'm guessing probably easily 30 crates if you have 10 mules on there. I don't know how many you would be able to fit on there. All right, so walking, again, that's what it looks like when you're walking. If you've done a crate, you know what this looks like. This is what it looks like on a mount. This is my mount. I got it as a skin from a pre-order pack way back in 2020, I think it was. It's called the Howling Ridge Ox, but it's just a horse that I'm on. That's just a skin for it. I don't know if it fixes bug, but I have an underwater mount, the Verdant Voyager, breathes underwater, but he doesn't breathe underwater when I'm using his skin. So if I want to go underwater, I have to take the skin off. But the speed is still the same and everything else is the same. I just can't breathe underwater with the ox, which makes sense, right? But I don't know if that's a bug or a feature. Again, you can never tell. All right. And then you have the aquatic mount. There's a shoal skipper. He can scoot along on land, but he's generally better in water. Shoal skippers are great because they do breathe underwater. And then also, if you want to go across the turquoise sea, you can go really far down below and then be out of sight of people. If you're on top of the water, somebody's going to see you. You're going to be flagged because you're in the lawless zone, the PvP zone. Yeah, they're going to come kill you and steal your crate. But hopefully, going real low and scooting amongst the rocks, you might be able to hide from people below the waves. Flying mount, no, you cannot fly with a flying mount, but you can walk with one as well. But all these mounts, except for the mules, which you're about to go over, it's much faster if you're on the ground, right? Because you can sprint on the ground all the way to your stamina bar is empty, and then walk a little bit and it'll slowly speed back up. With the mounts, it's what, that 5% burst, and that burst is not near as fast as you're going to burst when you're sprinting. So there's really no reason to use a mount, even a flying mount that can't fly with the crate on. It just turns into a ground mount, but it doesn't seem, I don't know, that why would a mount be slower than you? Because obviously a mount can hold a lot more weight than you can. So it would seem that it would at least be faster in some regards. But anyways, that's just where we're at now. Oh, by the way, that's Fred. All right, and then we're going to talk about the crate mules. The first one is the Daystrider crate mule. It has 100% ground speed and a crate carrying capacity is 1. I'm carrying crate, and so is the Daystrider on this. And then remember what I said earlier, summoning a mule will end PvP protection. So if you are, for some reason, have PvP protection, it will go away once you summon a mule. You don't have to be on it, apparently, but as soon as you summon it, you lose your protection. All right. So how do you get one? Anybody can get one. It's a novice. You can buy it from the vendor. This is the vendor over by Avon's Inn, I believe. It's 51 copper for it, 34 plus 17 tax. Once you buy it, then you walk over to the animal husbandry station, which is novice, and then it takes 75 silver. So it's pricey in the beginning, and you're not going to have 75 silver. I'm going to go over a little bit later on how you can get started doing crates, but really you would just run a couple of crates back and forth. What was it, 34 or 24? I remember what the payout was of that other one. And then do maybe 2 or 3 of those. And then once you get a mule, and then it's a lot faster. You can really make some money back and forth while everybody else is grinding mobs or doing the starter quest or whatever in the beginning. All right, this is the Moonstrider crate mule. It carries 2. It's still 100% ground speed. So same ground speed as the other one, except now you're carrying 2. And then this is the Alpine Baghorn crate mule. It carries 2 just like the previous one, but now you're 100% ground speed. So this is the fastest one in the game currently, and then it carries 2 crates. This is Journeyman Animal Husbandry. The one before this one was Apprentice Animal Husbandry. So a tier 3 automatically has the Apprentice Animal Husbandry stations, but they would have to upgrade their agricultural supply in order to make this one. All right, so getting started. So first thing you need to do on a fresh start server is just do artisan commodity crates, because all they take is copper, silver, whatever you want to call it, silver to do it. Earn enough silver to buy and train a crate mule, like I just mentioned, and then continue running artisan crates until a T3 settlement levels up. Once a T3 settlement levels up, then you can move your amount over there and start doing crates in there because your payout's going to be a lot higher, especially if you're one of the first people, right? Remember, 1 through 25 is you get the 1.2 payout. All right. But if you're on an established server like we are now, complete some buy orders if available. If they're none available for some reason, you can also do the artisan hunt and invention commissions, which are going to has a chance to give you 2 every time you open one of those little caches, the little chest that you get. It's, I forget what the percentage, 10%. I can remember the percentage. If you watch the video on commissions, I talk about all the rewards in those crates, and scrip is one of the rewards in that. So it is possible to get enough scrip to do a commodity crate. It's going to take you a long time, but it's better than not having one at all. Use that scrip to buy a commodity certificate. Run a settlement commodity crate for more scrip if needed. Because remember I said that generally you wouldn't need to do the settlement commodity crates because it pays out scrip when you can just go ahead and do the buy orders to get more scrip. And then switch to market commodity crates if you have glint to spend. Once you get enough scrip, right, to buy the commodity certificate, switch over to market commodity crates if you have glint to spend, or switch to citizen commodity crates if you have scrip to spend. So really that's the determining factor. I want to make gold. What do I have to spend? Oh, I have glint. I'm going to use this, the market one. If I have scrip, I'm going to use citizen commodity crates to make my gold and profit. And that is it. So again, do all the liking and subscribing and all that other kind of stuff. And the next lesson, I probably will redo the gathering skills lesson because all those recipes changed. I will redo that one. Then I know I got to get into the processing and the crafting ones. This is the first video I've done since the start of this phase because I've just been so busy. I became mayor in Sunhaven, and I've been trying to get leveled up with the first Hideworks. This is on Resna with the first Hideworks on the server. We're ready to level up to Master Hideworks, right? We just built the farm last night, and yeah, we're ready to level up to Master Tanning for that one. And then we will hopefully be able to go to Master Leatherworking. Yep. So if you're in Resna, stop by Sunhaven. It's a great place, even if it's hot and dry. Other than that, I'll see you guys around.